Welcome to,
The Neapolitan.
Scoop Podcast.
My name is Steph.
My name is Shay.
and my name is Rose. Thank you for tuning in to the Neapolitan Scoop Podcast, where you get your weekly scoop. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, what are you waiting for? Go subscribe right now. Before we jump in, a quick note on our content is created for adults and adult audiences only. We do advise listener and viewer discretion for graphic depictions of violence, frank portrayal of sexuality, discussion of mental illness and existential struggles, as well as some filthy language. It may be a lot to take in sometimes, especially when we have those in-depth conversations. So if you need to take a breather, feel free to go do that and then come right back to us. Today's topic is setting boundaries. According to ccenter.org, boundaries are rules, limits, or guidelines that someone sets in order to let others know what they're comfortable or uncomfortable with, what they want done or they don't want. There are many different types of boundaries that we can set for ourselves. Sorry, my Texas came out, boundaries, including physical, time, conversational, relationship, and personal boundaries. With that being said, I'm going to send it over to Shay for some questions.
Thank you, Rose.
You're welcome.
All right. So first question is, um, so why is it important to set boundaries?
Mm. Why is it important to set boundaries? I think setting boundaries helps with your mental health
Mm.
because if you don't set boundaries, you're going to always be upset internally because you feel some type of way about something, but you're not releasing it because you're not setting boundaries.
Yeah.
I think it's
That's my
important
take
just
on it.
because, yeah, I think it's important because nobody knows what happens in our heads. Nobody knows what our heads are, what's going through them, what's running, what kind of problems we're facing. And sometimes you just have to let people know, these are my boundaries. This is what triggers me. Let's not go there. I get triggered by A, B, C, or D. And
Yeah.
I think it just kind of establishes that you know where you are or where you physically, mentally, where you are. And you're like, you know what? These are my hard lines. These are my hard boundaries. I will not do this. I will not do that. And even, when you want to push your boundaries, am I comfortable with pushing my boundaries? Am I not comfortable with pushing my boundaries? So I think that's what's just important to set them, let people around you know what they are. It just makes everybody else happier and yourself, just
Yeah.
knowing how.
This kind of reminds me of like the whole first date mentality where people think just because you go on a date with them and they pay that, or the expectation is that maybe there should be sex afterwards.
Mm,
But for the women, it's not always like, our boundary is, hey, I'm going on this date with you to see if I like you. It's not entitling you to be physical with me. And so
right.
maybe even after a couple drinks or so, somebody may feel like, okay, well, I want to get touchy. I want to get feely. Well, no,
Mm,
I'm not there. I don't even know you. I just met you.
yeah.
So that's kind of what this reminds me of, just setting boundaries and making sure that you feel comfortable in any situation. You have to set boundaries with family.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
even with your parents, like if you
facts.
think about it, your parents may think because I'm your mom, I can raise my voice at you or I can say certain things with you without realizing, like, hey, I'm an adult. I got my own
Yeah.
limitations and my own, like, feelings, my own thoughts, and I don't want to be talked to like that, or I don't. So it's just very important because people think that depending on who they are in your life, that you don't have to have boundaries with them. And I think that's a
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
negative. You got to have boundaries with just about anybody.
Yeah. They're
I
healthy.
agree. Mm-hmm. And just to piggyback off of what you said, Shay, like I feel like family is like they're the hardest people to set boundaries with
Hmm.
because it's just that aspect of, oh, this is family. Like you're supposed to just let family get away with certain things. So you just sit there and you let them, treat you any kind of way, or their entitlement and expectations are just like, oh, well, you're supposed to do this. And it's like, no, I'm not supposed to do this. Just because you're
Yeah.
my family member doesn't mean I should sit here and let you continue to disrespect me. or disrespect my boundaries. And a lot of us sometimes, especially when it comes to the older generation, the generation before you, the aunts, the uncles, it's like you feel like, oh, if you go against what they say, it's disrespectful. No, it's not disrespectful, especially if you tell them in a nice way, like, I don't like that. That's not something that I agree with, and I'm gonna respect you and you should respect me. Point blank, period.
Yeah, they definitely don't see it like that. It's like, I'm older, no matter what I say, I'm right, and you're supposed to listen.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost as if you can't have your own opinion, or you can't tell them, hey, I don't agree with this. I actually think this, that, and the other,
Right.
And that's definitely something that we grew up on. Like, if you have an opinion, you're disrespectful. No, as long as my tone is correct, I'm not being disrespectful.
Correct. Fact.
And it's not my fault how you take things. Like, you can't help how people like take what you say. And I think that's all a part of emotional intelligence as well. You have to allow people to voice what they want to voice, but obviously the person who's voicing have to be mindful of who they're telling the information to. But the person on the other side has to be willing to receive it, but not like try to misunderstand how you trying to speak to them or whatever you're trying to tell them. Yeah.
Right.
And that's why it's hard, because you don't know how the person talking to you is, or what's going through their head. And then the person you're talking to, you don't know what's going through their head. You might be trying to give them perfectly good advice, and they're just, having a bad day. And today was not the day for them to receive your advice. And you're like, the fuck is wrong with her? Or what the fuck is wrong with him? And you're like, I just told them they need, pink look better on their hair or something like that. And all this, next thing you know, this person's going off about, why are you trying to tell me how to do my hair? You're like, bro, I was
First
just
of
telling
all,
you.
that stems way deeper than you telling them they need to have pink hair. Somebody before you done probably told them, hey, I prefer you with this hair. It's probably reminding them of a past relationship, and now they triggered.
Right, but you don't know that, and you're just saying, oh, I really like how pink looks on their hair, and all of a sudden this person's going off about you telling them how to do their, and you're like, what the fuck? Yeah, no.
Never mind, keep my pink to myself.
Yeah.
I definitely have told people that I'm like, you know what? Never mind. When you need something, like if you want to call for advice, don't call me. Because at the end of the day, when I try to say what I'm trying to tell you, it gets interpreted the wrong way. So don't even call me asking for advice. Just completely X me off that list of people you call when you need advice, because I'm just not that person for you. And then I'm gonna tell you the truth. And people don't like to hear the truth either. They want you to go with them on their side. Like if you right, then and I think, okay, yeah, I heard you out. You're right. But if you're wrong and I say you're wrong and you wanted me to tell you you're right and you get mad because I told you wrong, I can't do nothing for you.
It's hard. I have a friend that we bump heads a lot. And I think that it's beautiful because we bump heads and we just, we don't agree in everything, and that's okay. And I think it got to the point where we were telling each other, let's agree to disagree. And then one of us would get pissed off because fuck that. I don't want to fucking agree to disagree and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, ma'am.
Bro.
But then I think it also got to the point where for our friendship, whenever we would give input or say something to the other, it'd be like, okay, do you want me to give you advice? Do you want me to just listen as a friend?
Yeah.
Do you want me to put some input? Or what do you want from me? So I think that really kind of helped our friendship, where it's like, what do you want from me? Since we're clashing heads about everything and we can't agree to disagree, and anything I tell you, you take wrong. If you're telling me this, if I'm giving you this piece of information, how do you want me to receive that? So sometimes I'll just be like, look, I'm just giving you information. I don't want your feedback. I don't need to know what you think about it. I just want you to know this. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. And she'd just be like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the questions we have to ask. Like, do you want advice? Do you want feedback? Do you want me to listen? Like, which one? That way I can know how to approach it.
I think that really helped our communication.
Yeah.
It really helped our communication because we kind of understood, are you just telling me to give me that information, or are you wanting feedback from that information you're giving me?
Because sometimes people just want to vent,
Yeah.
They just want to vent. They don't really want to know if they're wrong or right. They want you to know what happened and just release that energy onto somebody else and just have you just be there.
Yeah.
So I definitely had to learn that myself. Especially like I said with my mom, it was just one of them situations. She'll call me about some her and my grandma went through, and now I'll tell her this, and she's like, you know what? Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So how do you want me to take that information? I think that's, and it really had helped. It has helped us a lot with communication. I think it really helped that bumping heads and her feeling like I was giving her unnecessary advice or me feeling like she was attacking me. So I think that kind of helped us kind of communicate
I ain't gonna
better.
lie, I do hate unnecessary advice. Like I don't know why. It's just like I can't
But
think of a
people, you have to
situation, but
understand, people don't know if
yeah,
it's unnecessary. So I think that's when that communication and that emotional intelligence comes in. Like, hey, I'm going to give you this piece of information. I don't want advice. I don't want feedback. I just need to vent. And
Mm-hmm.
it's I was like, once we started talking like that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. I would still have to bite my tongue sometimes because I wanted to give her my feedback, or I wanted to, be like, look, that's not even right. But I
yeah,
would just be like, okay.
yeah.
But I think it goes both ways. Like the person who's venting, I think it honestly should be their responsibility to start off like, hey, I don't want advice right now. I just want you to listen.
Yeah.
I don't want no judgment because technically you're the one delivering the advice. And now the person that's taking it in has to guess or assume what you want
You want, yeah.
and ask what you want. And it's like, well, just start off the conversation. If you don't
Yeah,
want advice, then say, hey, I don't want your advice right now. I just want to tell you about the situation that happened. I just want you to listen. Because it's been some
definitely.
times when
Mhm.
I've dealt with difficult people and they're telling me something that's going on in their life. And I'm just sitting up there looking at the text message like, do I respond to this?
That's true.
And sometimes I just don't respond to it. But then when you don't respond to it, it's like, oh, so
They've
you didn't have
ignored
nothing to say
me.
about it. Yes. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, if I say something, you're gonna go left. And I don't think what
Yeah.
I'm currently thinking about saying is something you're gonna agree with. I don't want to argue. So I'm gonna just keep you on red until you say something next.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
I
think it
think you're
goes both
right.
ways. Like
The
I should
person
just like if I
request,
was feeling,
yeah.
yeah, the person delivering the information, just say, hey, just listen. I don't want to hear if I'm right or if I'm wrong. I just want you to listen. And yeah, so I think it goes both ways. But if the person, I guess like Rose said, if the person doesn't give that disclaimer at the beginning of the conversation, then go ahead and ask, like, hey, do you want me? Do you
Look,
want my
before I
real?
start talking,
Yeah.
What
And
do you
you know
want
how
from me? Because
some people will be like, do you want the real answer or do you want to hear what you want to hear? Like, which
do
one
you
you
right.
want the
want?
truth or you want me to lie to
Oh.
you? So I feel like you want the truth or you want me to lie?
Yeah.
Like, which one you want? Because I can make you
Mhm.
feel
Yeah.
good, or I
So
can tell you the truth and you might not like it, but
Right.
you got to
yeah, so that's a
decide.
great communication tip. Like, just ask, don't assume, because anytime we assume, we make an ass out of each other. So that's a good tip. Good tip.
Yeah.
All right. So next
All right,
question. So who should we set boundaries with? Did everybody?
everybody.
Yeah. I think we kind of agreed
Everybody.
on that. We agreed that
Everybody. You gotta set
everybody.
up boundaries in your relationships with your like spouses, family, friends,
I think
co-workers.
even with ourselves, I think sometimes we have to set boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
know what our
Fact.
boundaries are, and how far are we willing to push or change those boundaries for somebody else or for certain situations. Like, is there this boundary I have that I'm willing to change or move around because of one person, or what my relationship with that person is, or certain situations? Like, would I ever go and, I don't know, rob a bank? Bound my boundaries. I'm not going to help you rob a bank. But hey, what happens
That's
if
as
I am
that's as deep
bank
as it gets.
Yeah,
Don't even tell me you gonna rob a bank, okay? Because I
yeah.
wanna have I don't when they be able to pull me into their little investigation room and ask me all them questions, I want to 100% be able to say I did not know that this was happening.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I don't know.
no, but
Go
Huh?
go
ahead.
ahead, Rose.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say I don't know. Some boundaries are probably gonna be pushed at one point.
No, but I
Like,
was gonna say, I feel like my toughest boundary, my toughest, it's been the toughest to set boundaries with my parents. Um, I think mostly with my parents. That's been the hardest thing to set boundaries with because, like I said earlier, we have this mentality that you're supposed to do everything that your parents tell you to do.
right.
But I also think it's hard to set boundaries with someone who's not emotionally intelligent. Because,
Yeah.
like, for example, I'm gonna give an example. Like,
Yeah.
me I had a situation where I had to set boundaries with someone, and they told me about something that they did with someone else. Like, let's just say, for example, oh, they let Sue Ann borrow their car, but when I asked to borrow their car, it was like, no, you can't borrow my car. Although you and Sue Ann are on a, let's just say you and Sue Ann are siblings or something, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to stop and ask that person, like, okay, well, why are you okay with letting that person borrow the car, but you're not okay with me borrowing the car?
So in this
You know?
situation, so if that person and Sue Ann is sisters or siblings, and that's why they let them borrow the car, what was your connection to this hypothetical person?
The sibling.
Okay,
We're
so
siblings.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So yeah, so Sue Ann and I are siblings, and my mother lets Sue Ann borrow the car, but doesn't let me borrow the car. And I'm like, okay, well, why do you let Sue Ann borrow the car, but you don't let me borrow the car? You know? And my mom would just say something like, oh, well, Sue Ann, she doesn't have a car, and this is that and the other, blah, 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 right? And you're like, okay, well, I know I have a car, but my car is currently broken down.
Oh.
So why couldn't I borrow yours? Oh, well, you can go get you a car, whatever. So when you sit there and you tell the person, and this is how they do like oh, well, it's whatever, you know what I mean.
There's
No, I don't
different
know what you mean.
circumstances. Yeah, that's
Yeah. It's like, no, I don't know what you mean. And we're going to talk about it right now because I feel a
Either
certain
you
type of way
trust me
about
or
it.
you don't.
Right. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to talk about it. And I already told you why. And it's like, no, what we're going to do is talk about it. And there's no need for you to go left field because clearly it's an issue. And if we don't talk about it right now, then we don't need to talk any further. I said, it's not an argument. I'm just trying to make you understand how I feel
And I want
so
to have an
that you know how,
understanding for
because
how
they
you
could be
feel.
for how you feel. And your reason for feeling the way you feel may be legit, and my reason may be legit too. And we're probably not seeing each other eye to eye, like, oh, I'm not looking at it from your perspective. You're not looking at it from mine. But I need you to know that I feel a certain type of way about it because this is how I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
That way you may be able to change something. You're like, oh, well, I didn't know that. And now your perspective is different. But if that person isn't emotionally intelligent, then you're just gonna be like, oh, whatever, I don't want to talk about it. I can't stand people who are like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. All you want to do is argue. All you want to do is this.
I
No, I'm not
know,
arguing. I'm
like,
trying to.
don't shut me out. Let me express what I'm trying to express to you. Everything don't have to be an
Yeah,
argument.
Are y'all people
it
that shut down
doesn't.
though? Because I think sometimes in arguments, I just shut down. Like, I'm not going to deal with it. I shut down. And I know that about myself. It's like if there's argument going or something that I don't agree with, rather than me saying what's really going through my head, I'm going to shut down. I'm going to just be like, whatever, it's whatever you say.
I shut down once I see that the argument is going nowhere. Once I see that this person is just not getting it and not trying to get it, I'm like, you know what? It's not even worth my time. Like, we can revisit this another day. But I feel like if I'm talking to somebody who I can trust and be like for example, Rose, I can be like, Rose, I feel a certain type of way about how you fixed Faye a drink, but you didn't fix me a drink. And Rose could be like, oh, well, you know what, Steph, you always fix your drinks yourself, so I didn't even think to fix you one. And then I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I see where you're coming from, Rose, But if I know Rose isn't gonna be like, Steph, you always want to argue and you always want to do this and you always want and Shay just to fix her drink, and I'm like, you know what? Never mind.
That was a lot.
But it
Exactly.
happens. But see, that's when I shut down. When people just start, and you're like, I'm gonna shut down. I'm gonna just be like, you gonna see my face. I have that face when I shut down. I'm just gonna be like, okay, like.
I think it's when you start yelling, cursing, doing the most is when I shut down. I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna just walk away at this point because
Even if you just do it mentally, yeah.
Oh, but yeah. So I think it's hard to set boundaries with family. It's really hard. But
Yeah.
It definitely is.
work is another one. Setting boundaries at work. That is another one. Like people, because you think, oh, if I do everything that they ask me to do, I'm going to get the promotion. And, they're just giving you work on top of work and you're just taking it and taking it and taking it and not setting any boundaries. So they continue to give you work. And now you're mentally exhausted. You're going home and you're taking it out on your family because you didn't set
Mm.
boundaries at work. So I think work is another one that people need to learn to set boundaries with. And I actually think when
What
you
are
start
some
setting
boundaries we could set at work, though? I think for me, it's
for
hard
example,
to set boundaries for work.
yeah, like saying no, like I have too much on my plate right now. I can't take on this additional task. Maybe we can discuss on me working it on a different day. Let's discuss that. I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying right now either. You know, um, and I think that's important. Saying, hey, this doesn't work with my schedule. Like I work life balance. I have a family at home. And you go home to your family, so why can't I go home to mine? You piling up all this work so you can go home at whatever
Right.
time you want to go. So I think that's definitely important. Setting boundaries with our children. A lot of us parents
Or
expect
like
us to
them,
say no.
or like them just busting in your room when the door is closed. And like, I have my door closed for a reason. You need to learn to knock.
My daughter used to do
I'm
that when she was little.
gonna have to start locking the
Yep.
door. I see that's what this is.
My daughter used to do that. Yeah. We still lock the
Yeah.
door, to be honest, and we can just be there just chilling. And I mean, now she knows to knock, right? But we still lock it. It's like that was just it's
Yeah.
Because
locked.
I am grown, okay? You don't know what goes on behind grown people's doors, and I'm gonna need you to knock.
Facts. Facts. Facts.
I remember when she was little, she used to stick her little fingers in each
Oh my
like
god, that's so adorable. That
she used
is
to be
so
like,
adorable. What the little cats be doing when they be trying to get in the
yes,
restroom?
yep. Kids be doing the same
Mommy,
thing.
mommy. You take it too
She
long.
talking to you, talking to you from under the door. And you're like,
Girl. Woo, that's
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, setting
I can't
boundaries with
think of
parents.
I think the parents was the one for me. I'm like, I can't think of any boundaries I have. Or like, what about in relationships when like sex is involved? Like some like men, for instance, they'd be like, "Oh, well, I'm horny 3, 4 times a week," and you're like, "Okay, well, I'm not." And then so y'all may have done it. Y'all may have done it one night, and then maybe the next night or night after they want some, and then they feel away when you like, "I don't want to do it." Well, you never give me none. Bro, this is my body. I should feel like
it's not
when I want to do it, I want to do it. Like, granted, I get it, you know, but this is my body. It's not yours.
listen,
Um,
you bitching about not getting some is making me even less horny. So I don't know if they don't understand that, but it's like when they're like, "Oh, you never give me some," and I'm sure enough not gonna give you none right now because you ain't doing nothing to make it any better.
because
So
now you pissing me off.
yes, so it's like what? Like I wonder what happens through their little horny head that they really think you're gonna give them some because they're telling you you don't give them none. It's gonna be like, are you supposed? Is that supposed to be guilt tripping me? Because it's getting me
I'm
They
mad.
like,
Like
gaslighting you. They
yes,
gaslighting you.
you
like I
better
don't
come
get
do
it.
something strange for a piece of change, and maybe I think about it.
Maybe. Maybe.
Facts.
Yeah, no, no, no. I don't, but definitely sexual boundaries.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's something you
Mhm.
definitely have to talk about with your partner. Like, am I somebody that's willing to do it 5 times a week? Or am I somebody that's willing to do it 2 times a week, but 3 times are in that same time? I think, yeah, that's it. And it's hard because
Mhm.
you never want to like
Have
plan
them feel
stuff
neglected. Or, yeah.
right. Or yeah, definitely not feel neglected, but again, they have to use their voice and their communication skills because they're not
Mm-hmm.
cavemen, even though I think they are cavemen. They're not cavemen.
Mhm.
We don't speak in ooh ooh gagas. So I need to know, like, talk to me. It's easy, but
Communication.
it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Communication is definitely important. And if you communicate your boundaries, then it all ties hand in hand, like what we talk about on a regular emotional intelligence, setting boundaries, communication. Like if we just all start working on those little soft skills, we could have great conversations and we
Definitely.
could be on the same page. But yeah.
All right.
All right.
So, last question. What should be done if someone does not respect your boundaries? I guess it just depends on what it is.
Yeah. I think again, communication, talk to that person. They might not know that's one of your boundaries, If
Yeah.
you've never
Right.
told them, they might not know. So I think again, and I think it's hard, but do it nicely. Be like, okay, well, I really didn't like what you said, or I didn't like what you did, and that's a boundary for me, and that's a trigger, and that's, I really don't function this way. Or if you start screaming and yelling at me, I'm gonna shut down because the way my little brain works, you start screaming
Yeah.
and yelling, it's not gonna go through. So I think definitely
Mm.
communicating with people. I'm all for second chances. People don't know you, even if they live with you. Sometimes they don't know what your triggers are. Sometimes they don't, they forget that by screaming at you, you block down or whatever it may be. So definitely talk, tell them. But I think if it's somebody that keeps on continuously doing it, and at this point, it's like, nah, you're just
Yeah.
like
Now
at
I'm gonna
this
have to
point,
cut you off because you bad for my mental
yeah,
health.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely cut some people off, especially when it comes for your well-being. I'm all for cutting people off. Like,
Yeah.
And
like
yeah, I agree. I agree with what Rose said. I was gonna say something. You said something about communication, boundaries. So I had to learn, and I don't know if y'all had to learn it too in y'all's relationship, but I had to learn that, you know, m- my man can't read my mind.
Mm.
And a lot of times we say, for instance, you're in a car and they're in the car, they're on the phone, and you go to the gas station and you have to get out the car and pump your own gas. They don't notice it. But now you mad because you're like,
because
why
you
did I have to
pumped your
pump my own
gas.
gas?
Nah, because it
Right?
should
And
be
now
known. We both in this car and I pull up to the gas station. You the man, get out and pump the gas.
But we go
and see,
back to
that's our problem. That's our problem. It should
communication.
be known. It should be known. And it's like, I think we have to do a better job of expressing, hey,
Yeah.
maybe you didn't notice it, but let me tell you right now, I am the
I
type of
don't like
person
pumping my own gas.
I do not like pumping my own gas. And if you don't mind, I would prefer that you get out and pump the gas. You know, that like Rose said, that is a trigger of mine. And you could even talk about why it's a trigger. Like
Mm.
it was a situation where I definitely expected my husband to read my mind. And he would always tell me, he'll be like, he'll do something. I'm gonna use a simple example as, let's just say, not flushing the toilet, right? Because that's a big pet peeve of mine.
Mm.
Um, and I'm like, I'll ask him nicely, like, hey, do you mind like flushing? Like, can you flush a toilet when you go to the restroom? Because I personally don't want to take a piss in on top of piss. It's just
Yeah.
nasty. So next time I go to the restroom a few more times and I see the same thing. So now I'm sitting up here like, I already told you once. I don't feel like I should have to tell you twice, right?
Mm.
But apparently this is a train thing. Like, if there's something that they've been doing all their life, which is not flushing the toilet, they
It's
can't just
true.
flip a switch and just stop doing it. So eventually what I had to do, so just to say, it happened several times. At this point, now I'm pissed off. Now I'm yelling.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, the first thing he would say is, why are you yelling? And
Oh, that's the
now
worst thing they can tell you when you're pissed off.
yes. Now I'm yelling even more because I'm like, how dare you ask me why I'm
The
yelling like you didn't
audacity.
do anything? Yes. I'm like, but he started telling me, he was like, well, when you yell, I shut down. He
Mm.
said, you yelling is a trigger to me because I was just used to being yelled at as a kid. And as a kid, I had to shut down because I couldn't yell back, you know?
True.
So he's like, yeah, you're yelling, but I'm not even hearing anything you're saying. I'm just shutting down.
Mm.
And I had to learn. And so I had to show him the example. I said, well, when you consistently don't do what I ask you to do, it reminds me of a child. And
Mm.
when a child doesn't consistently do what you ask them to do, you have to go to the next level of discipline, you know? And I said, so now I'm yelling at you because I think you're intentionally not doing it. So you're triggered by that, and I'm triggered by this. So how about we both not trigger each other? You do your part and I will do mine.
Right.
And then
Now
it's like when I
because you called him a child. So you saying I'm a child now?
I think he would have been more offended if I would have compared him to our children, because he would have been like, well, don't compare me to our children. But when I compared him to a child, I'm like, this is childlike behavior. You know, you have to repeat yourself to a child. You have to tell a child, because you're training them to do these things, you know? And I think after that, he kind of got it. And then I noticed that he started getting comfortable. And this is another thing. So I praised him on it. And I was like, you've been doing a great job of flushing the toilet.
Yep.
And the minute I praise him, here we go. I found one toilet with some piss in it. And I'm like, God damn.
No.
I said, this
you
is
were
why I
doing
don't praise
so good.
But you got comfortable because I gave you some praise. So I had to go back and reel them in like a little
it's
fish.
Not
come
a
back.
thing. This is a consistent thing that I need you to work on, flushing the toilet. You would think that's something you don't even have to tell nobody. You should be flushing the toilet all your life. Like, why are you not flushing the toilet as an adult?
Surprisingly, it's a big, my son does the same thing. It's just a big,
they forget about it.
Even like where we work at, the men's restroom is the nastiest. And I'm just like, so this is just a male thing. Like it's so nasty that,
you know what?
Pack and go.
I've definitely been in some women restrooms, and I'm just like, who the fuck did this and how? Like, you'd be surprised at how some stalls be. And I'm just like, was it a top who doesn't know how to like get her stuff inside the bowl? Like, it's just disgusting sometimes.
Yeah, women are disgusting sometimes.
Wait, what was outside the bowl? Some shit?
Everything.
Like, how does that even happen?
On the sink.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. What kind of blowout was that?
Oh, she was trying to wash her ass and just
maybe they was
out
old
again.
And couldn't just hold it. You know, people be old and they can't hold it. Maybe it was old person, but it was in two separate stalls. And I was like, so both people
And I'll say this too, not to get off of boundaries, but like to piggyback off what you said, Shay, some women are nasty, because I've seen some things that, you know, like when you have your monthly situation, your period or whatever, some women do not know how to properly dispose of their sanitary pads
in the toilet. Oh my God.
It's like, look, take the pad, wrap it up. Actually,
put it in some more paper.
The plastic that the pad comes in, you should use that to wrap the old pad in and then throw it in the trash. Your pad should not be open trash for everyone to see, because nobody wants to see that. Nobody.
Same thing with the tampons. Put them back in the little plastic container. That's what it's for.
Yeah. I don't know if it's just laziness. I don't know if it's a lack of like home training.
I think that has to do with home training. I think when it comes to hygienic stuff like that, it has to be some kind of home training. Like something went wrong when they were training you, because I don't know.
Well, I would say that, but like my son is the same way, and I'm sorry, son, I'm putting your business out there, but he's the same way, and I'm just like, I'm telling him like, sir, flush the toilet. Clean this. It's just pure laziness. It's like boys are just nasty.
Men.
Some girls are too, though.
Girls are too, though. Yeah, I was gonna say girls are nasty too. They don't. I don't.
Yeah, we know. But back to boundaries. The question was, what should be done if someone
breaks your boundaries or doesn't respect your
boundaries? Yeah, and we said communication, talk about it. And I feel like if they continue to disrespect your boundaries, cut them off. I have cut a few people off who just didn't care to respect me for, you know, who I was and what I asked them not to do and to do. It's just like, okay, well, you're too bad for my.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've cut a few people off too. I think my wife always tells me you're a savage when you cut people off. But to me, it's like, if I cut you off, that means I don't need to know about you. I don't need to know your life. I don't need to know what you're doing. Like you're cut off. When I cut people off, they're cut off. Like I don't. I think if you're cutting somebody out, it's because, of course, they were not good to your mental or physical health or whatever it may be. And why would I want to allow that person back to my life? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why? The reason for me cutting them off is because I wanted better stability, either mentally or emotionally. And it's like, why am I going to allow that person come back into my life? Like, I don't know. It's it's
I feel
it's
you.
just useless
Now,
for me.
then so let's just say, for instance, you cut them off and they come back around, and now their energy is a little bit different, and they show you that they're able to respect your boundaries. Are you willing to let them back in, or
No, so the
no?
people I was telling you about, the girls I was talking to you about, they still talk to my wife. They're friends on Facebook. Many times they've told her, hey, you and Rose should come through. And I'm like, no, I'm not coming around those people. And she's like,
They
hey,
trying to get back in.
yes. And then she's like, hey, they're asking about you. Don't tell them nothing about me. They don't need to know nothing about me. I was like, I'm okay with them being your friends. That is your personal choice to be friends with them. I'm telling you, I don't want them in my circle. I don't want them around me. I don't want whatever kind of energy they have around me, period. Like to me, it's like, you messed up. You showed me what you were about. Um, I understood. And at this point, I don't want you back into my life because I don't want to go through that again. Yeah.
And you got to respect that boundary. You got to
Hmm.
respect, you created a boundary for yourself. I ain't talking to you again.
Yeah.
Period.
And there's a lot of people that I'll cut off like that I've cut off. Like my best friend, he's probably lurking on this podcast because I've seen him around on some of my Instagram stuff. I just unblocked him from my Instagram after a couple years.
Speaking of lurking, I was looking at our insights today, and I was looking at like who, like it shows you what side of town people are on, like
Oh,
that are logging on. And I was like, okay, we got a couple of lurkers, because I'm like, I know a couple of people from this side of town and this side of town. I'm
downtown
like,
Houston.
Wait, it tells you the side of town?
yeah, so it has like Pearland, like people from Pearland that log in,
Oh,
like the amount. Yeah, it has like a Tascasita, I believe.
Isn't
It's a
that for the
few. Let me
reach?
see. Might be. I don't know. Hold on,
So
let me
yeah, I see
see.
where it says top city. So Houston, Atascocita, Spring, Pearland. Well, because when
Oh, there you
we
go.
do the hashtags, I put, or not even just the hashtags, I put the locations usually for Houston, or I'll put Texas. So the reels can go basically all around the city.
I do Houston and Missouri City a lot of the times. Hmm.
Yeah. But
But good.
yeah.
I know a couple people in Atascocita. Know a
Yeah,
couple of
well,
people
I
in
figured Shay
Pearland.
knew a couple, because Shay is out. You're in
Oh yeah, she's
Atascocita.
up there. No, she's
That don't mean I
on
know
Yeah.
the
people.
other
That's like
side.
saying I go out and interact with these people out here. I don't know these people.
But I would think that you have like family and stuff out there, right?
I have a
No?
uncle.
She said,
I
"Hey,
believe
uncle,
that.
I have an
one."
What side of
uncle who was in the Tascasita, but I don't think he accounts for
It's
shit.
not that
The
many.
6%.
76%
No,
at
six
Tascocita.
percent. 6%.
Oh, well, I know a couple, so thank you for watching. If that's you, you know who you are.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
But
I
it could
didn't
really
know.
be anybody. Because like when we met up with that girl at the networking event, and she said, "Oh, I just saw y'all stuff today."
Mm,
I ain't know her.
that's
She
true,
did.
but
She said she saw stuff. Yeah. So
well,
I
that means
guess
we're
our
getting
content
around.
in a good way.
Disclaimer in a good way.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
It's too
You
funny.
even
Okay. Well,
you even have to I was just thinking you have to set boundaries with exes too. Because your ex be thinking they could spin a block when they want, or hit you up when they want, or hey big head, or hop in your DMs. Sir, I cut you off.
oh,
You were cut
oh,
off.
Big
You were
oh,
cut
head?
off
oh.
to not come
Nah,
back. Okay. You're disposed
nah.
of. File
Yeah,
13.
I think you're right. You have to set those boundaries. Like me and the father of my child,
Yep.
he knows that I set those boundaries
Oh
where that
yes.
time that my child turned 13, baby, I don't gotta do nothing with you. I don't need to know who you are. I don't need to know who you're fucking. I don't need to know who you're married to. I don't need to know how many kids you have out there. you have a daughter that has a phone, you and me, no conversation after that.
And they hate that because I'm like, why do you feel like you have to have communication with me in order
You
to have
don't.
communication with your child? I have to tell mine, I'm like, I don't know, what's this obsession with you feeling like you have to, like,
You don't.
I don't think I said the word communicate, but I said something. I'm like, I don't know what it is with you feeling like I have to give you this type of like
Attention.
when I don't. Like, you have a way to talk to your kid, and that's the
Yeah.
way you talk to her. But for some reason, you feel like you have to have a tie to me, and I'm like, you technically don't. Like,
Right.
and you even have to watch how you talk to them, because if you too friendly with them, they might think, oh, you want them back. No, I'm just trying to be cordial. You can't even be cordial with a nigga these days. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
so that just all ties
Mm-mm.
into boundaries. Now I know what I can't do with you. I can't even kiki with you because you're gonna think kiki and me and I want another baby by you. Like, no, sir, no.
No,
So I can't
never.
do nothing. I can't even say a happy birthday, goddamn. I'm like, I can't do nothing. So I'm gonna
See,
just not do nothing. Nothing.
I learned that very early on. They feel like a happy birthday means you want birthday sex. Nope. No, sir. So, I think that's the only ex that I actually kept some kind of conversation before she turned like 13, 14. But my other exes, it's like I think I guess I'm very extreme with boundaries because my other exes is like I don't even know where they are in the world. I don't even know if they're alive or dead. Like I don't keep no kind of contact.
At all.
It's like erase me from your social media, block you. Like, I don't want to know nothing about you. I don't need to know anything about you. At this point, we're no longer together. Our lives are no longer crossed. We're not on the same path. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
to me, it's just better to pull them completely out of my life than have to. I don't know. I don't know. I'm extreme when it comes to blocking people and getting them out of my life and just cutting them off. Like, I don't, we don't have no business together. It's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's all right.
That's all I have.
All right. We want to thank you for tuning into our podcast. Again, if you enjoyed our content, please subscribe to our channel, like, and comment. We love feedback. While you're at it, follow us on all streaming platforms. Also, if you have a topic that you would like for us to discuss, or if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, feel free to email us, or you can send us a DM. Again, thank you, and see you next week for your weekly scoop serving. Peace.
Bye.